Peace everyone, it's BlackHighPriestess. This is part 2 of my coconut pound cake upload. It lets you go live for an hour, so like when I answer questions and get to chit-chatting, I lose track of my time. But I like to do it live and in real time. Sometimes instead of just, posting the pictures and recipes, because it shows you all the work and the preparation that actually goes into baking. And I like to keep it real. So part of what I do is to kind of take down the smoke screens and show people, there is realness out here. There's real sisters out here, and everything isn't smoke and mirrors. Some people don't need filters, to show their beauty or to, look a certain way, or, editing to be able to, express themselves and stuff. So I just, I'm mixing this now, and I've mixed it without the blender pretty successfully. So again, I was going on a tangent. I hope I answered your other question, which was in the last chat, which was about making a difference. So this is what it looks like when this is the roux. So this is the coconut oil, egg yolks, vanilla extract, coconut palm sugar, a cup of sugar, all the dry flour ingredients, baking powder mixed in together. And so we have a nice roux here. Again, I'm doing souffle style. So usually what you would do after you make the roux, you add the meringue, which I'm going to make momentarily. And then I still have yogurt to add. So I'm going to see how the yogurt works with adding it to the meringue or just adding it here. And then with a roux, if you're doing souffle, you would add cold. This would be hot because you would do this over a double boiler. And you would add cold milk to it. And then, sift everything and then let it cool and add the meringue, and then voila. But since we're not using any other dairy really besides the yogurt and eggs, I'm going to add the yogurt to it, which is cold, but it'll be fluffy, and then we'll add the meringue. So again, doing it souffle style. Alright, so let me know if y'all have any other questions about anything. And then I am going to add some coconut flakes. I'm just going to kind of layer. Maybe I should just add it to the dry ingredients instead of layering. But I wanted to kind of layer the flakes and put some on top. But I'll add a little bit more to the dry ingredients here. Just a little bit more. These organic coconut flakes that I blended and flaked myself. It's great to have a food processor, especially if you are, time budgeting like a lot of artists do, but also, if you're a single mom or, anything like it's just great to have little tools. I do things from scratch a lot, but cooking is exercise. It's a nice workout. And it activates your senses. Sometimes you can lose your appetite after cooking and things because of the fumes. So it's a lot of chemistry involved in cooking, and that's why I like to show you all the witchcraft aspect of cooking and what I talk about recycling and cooking and chemistry and alchemy, because a lot of what I've noticed, especially in Chicago, is that there's a lot of smugness and resentment. And Christ always talks about, Christ talked about a prophet never goes unhonored except in his hometown. And I realized that in Chicago, there's a lot of, not a lot, but over the years of me discussing spirituality, people don't really always know what questions to ask to kind of gauge who I am and what I'm about. And it's hard to explain to people who have no concept of spiritual witchcraft and bloodline traits. other than what is, the propaganda promoted in media, and a lot of the Eurocentric aspects of witchcraft that are promoted in media. So, a lot of times it's hard to kind of talk about certain things when people don't express interest in those particular subjects. And that's what esoteric and the occult is about. Not keeping the secret and letting someone else, through their questions, show what level they are at to learn. And receive divination, I suppose. Isn't always the best word, but so let's get the yogurt in. Work with the yogurt. What I'm gonna do now, actually, though, is I'm gonna throw this in the water, everything else, and gonna go ahead and see how the meringue works out. Yeah, I appreciate your questions, Dwayne. Those are really good questions, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. You have to be willing to ask questions, and a lot of times I see, especially black men who want to date me or find me attractive, but resent the fact that I have a level of intelligence that challenges their male ego, and that challenges their perception of blackness and black women. In Chicago, there's a lot of pimping and hoeing. So black men are used to a lot of brothers are used to a certain type of woman in Chicago. And when you challenge him intellectually, but he still finds you attractive, he can become very aggressive and abusive. And I experience that more often than not from black men who don't qualify to date me, based on a lot of things, namely having other women and children already. And there's a lot of brothers who, because you're sexy, they feel entitled to be able to demean you, and because you arouse them. And then when there's an actual package that comes with that, you will see how evil and wicked and inferior black men really truly are when they don't meet the standards that something that a woman that they really desire has set. And that's why I talk about inferiority, because when you're groomed with certain standards that a lot of black people have no concept of meeting, but I grew up having to meet those standards from a young age on, and black people have never been held to these standards that I had to meet every day of my life from a young age. There's a huge disconnect. And the fact that I have a phenotype that is obviously black, and I'm not willing to compromise or apologize for my obvious blackness, I can make a difference. I can elevate. But because I choose to elevate sisters out of this, accepting the low standards of our men, and really talking about the fact that men who meet the standards that I have and I grew up with don't date black women. They are programmed against us. So the things that I talk about, a lot of sisters can't relate to because they weren't groomed with certain standards that allow them to understand that black men are inferior. Because they are around black men who are not inferior to them. You see? So, I appreciate your questions, because there's, again, you have to be able to ask questions and ask intelligent questions to be able to get answers and think, and to be able to actually understand someone's perspective. And that's what a lot of, people in the revolutionary circuit, that's what a lot of black leadership in Chicago is not willing to do. Ask the right questions that will challenge the standards of the leadership, because they're comfortable with the low standards that in where I grew up don't qualify for nothing. So so a lot of black people who grew up like I grew up are sellouts. They're sellouts. And a lot of them have never struggled. I grew up being able to compete with white supremacy in real time, That's why people say I talk like a white girl. Like there's no other way to, you can't not think black people are inferior when you're as dark as me and people say you talk like a white girl and act like a white girl because I grew up with a certain level of education. It's almost impossible for me to look at people as inferior, save the spiritual understanding of forgiving people for not knowing what they do. The spirit of slumber over the black race that the Bible talks about. You know, so fortunately I grew up with education and spirituality. So my discussion of black male inferiority is based on my experiences. The average sister will never understand that because the average, she's not necessarily per se superior to the average black man, mentally, spiritually, or otherwise. But there's a lot of sisters who do understand, who have those experiences based on the fact that she's a successful, educated black woman who knows her worth. I still come from the gutter, but you know, my education allows me in the parents that I had allow me to be able to think differently. And a lot of black people think because you look a certain way, you're supposed to think a certain way. And one of the best things that I saw Trump did was expose to me how many black people are conservative and moral and dignified and are sick of us of feeling confined to having to relate to niggers and relate to people with inferiority complexes and victim minds and having to relate to people who don't want to do better, just want to complain because it's easier than actually making a difference. So that's why I hashtag MAGA, because I don't have to, I never needed a Black Lives Matter. I was already living my life exemplifying how much Black Lives Matter to me. But I'm going to need y'all to make America great again. That I do need. I don't need nobody to show me how to let Black Lives Matter. And that's what I'm saying with revolutionaries. We never needed all this extra stuff. Y'all is too paying attention. It's too much looking at the media and propaganda and not actually looking at how many solutions you can get involved in. You know, and it's hard, but it's better than actually thinking that there's something in Africa that ain't here. Why repatriate to Africa when more Africans are migrating to America? For what? I don't know. You guys is learning 5 languages at age 2 in Africa, so why are they coming to America? Because they want to fuck white women freely. Other than that, what do you need to come to America for unless you want to sell your soul? If then we have to discuss the greatness of America and the fact that people are coming over here. So why repatriate to Africa for what? We are not enslaved. Niggas got money. They just hate black women. So repatriation to Africa is an excellent solution for black women who will not find the prosperity in America because our men are inferior and programmed successfully against us. If they weren't inferior, it wouldn't be so. And I'm not talking for black revolutionaries. I'm talking for the niggas in Hollywood and everybody else that got money. And a platform. You will not find no nan nigga with more than 50 followers who ain't promoting white women somehow, one way or another. Black men are popped in America. So repatriation to Africa, it would be great for sisters who are too dark and intelligent to find an eligible black man here and who don't want to marry the white men who are eligible and superior enough to be with us. You see. And I'm not speaking for all sisters. I'm speaking for black women who are too superior for what has become of our race and our men over here. And I will say this. 90% of good black men are already married. If you're over the age of 20, if you're over the age of 27 or 30, even 32 maybe, most good black men are already married or already somebody's baby daddy. So he's no good to you. Black women in America who are dark skinned, who have natural hair, who are intelligent and moral and sexy. Because you can easily get a black man if you look average. Black men still have that fear of sexy black women because we were, the slave masters raped us first. So he still has that deep DNA complex of, I gotta save you for the slave master. Let me go with these ugly, light-skinned, fat women. Because that's what the slave masters who was raping him looked like. Ugly, fat, and white. Their husbands didn't want them because they wanted so it's still this whole syndrome that Hollywood is still promoting. And a lot of these single brothers out here, it's the single leftovers. I'm not taking away from single sisters. I'm not saying that some people who are single into their older ages, I'm not saying that there's issues with black femininity, but I talk about that a lot as well. I experience some of the worst of black women because I look good and I think differently and I take care of my body and I grew up differently and I'm not a slave to these syndromes that a lot of these sisters suffer from. So I've experienced some of the worst that black women have to offer. So I have no problem agreeing with the things that some of these brothers say. But sisterhood does not allow me to put the black women's issues before the responsibility of the black man. That's biblical. It falls on the man first. According to sovereign rights, the man is the authority. So when you come from a race where your men are inferior to you, it's not all, but it's just one of those things where it's hard to find black people, let alone a single brother at my age or older than me, wiser than me, who I can genuinely relate to. Most of the good men who are pro-black and will not date interracially or will choose a black woman first are already with a good black woman. You know what I mean? And it's better for women who look average because when you are drop dead gorgeous, you're going to spend your 20s and 30s being treated like a sex doll. It's harder when you're sexier because it's harder for people to love you for who you are. It's always about what you can do and how good you make them look and how good they think they're going to, it's always all about them. When you're sexy, it's about how you make them feel. But when you average, people can actually love you for who you are because they're not blinded by your sex appeal. And a lot of men out here, when they get with sexy women, they're trying to conquer us. They're not trying to love us. They feel inferior to us and they want to conquer us. So that they're dating us out of a inferiority complex, not out of the actual masculine sovereignty to love a highly desired woman. So we'll get the yogurt out, and it calls for 12 ounces, 12 ounces of yogurt, and these are like 5.3 ounces. So I'm gonna do 2 coconut yogurts and a half thing of vanilla. But right now I got the egg whites here. Okay. Sorry. I got the egg whites, and I'm gonna go ahead and add that the baking powder. Let's see if I can put that right here. Right here, I guess. I'm gonna add the baking powder a little bit at a time. And now it's half a teaspoon. Here it is. And again, these are aged egg whites. I got this idea from, listening to pastry chefs, French chefs, Italian chefs on the best ways to make macarons. and, you know, aging the egg whites and letting them sit out and loosen up for a few days. So I've actually adopted that style too. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a little baking powder right now, just to loosen it up. Again, egg whites are delicate and it's hard. It's, you know, there's really a right formula. You have to have good quality eggs, and there's, you know, making meringue is delicate. Okay. And you start with low speed, loosen everything up, then increase to high speed. And I got some sugar. It's like I have no space going on. I got my sugar here too that I'm going to be adding in. Start low speed. Go to high speed now. Now that it's fluffing up, perfect. Now I can start adding. Now that's got some thick peaks. I can start adding the rest of the powder. Add some sugar. All right. So there we go. We have the meringue. It turned out really well. So basically what we have here is, this is the meringue, stiff peaks. And when you do macarons, you want this peaks where it doesn't fall out when you flip it. So this is the meringue, stiff, and these are the aged egg whites. And it's even got a bit of a tint from the brownness of the sugar, and then the baking powder there that initially loosened the eggs up. And so, you know, you can do up to like 6 minutes of blending, but this is fine with souffle. You don't actually need stiff peaks. Technically for souffle, you can do medium peaks, but I like to do it a little stiffer. So that's that. And I think what I'm gonna do is see how the yogurt mixes with some of that. Remember, with souffle, now that you have the meringue, you would have your roux with the, you would really have like a custard, which would be with typically chocolate or flavoring, with the roux, which would be flour and butter mixed, and then sugar and cream, heavy cream. And then that would become a custard that you would then mix with the egg whites and then put into the pan with the sugar rim, which I have here, souffle style. So what I'm gonna do now is answer your question, but I'm gonna keep the blender here going. Some other stuff up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get, so I have the Greek yogurt. The last thing is on the recipe is 12 ounces of vanilla or plain coconut yogurt. So what I have is, these are 5-ounce cups here. So what I have here is 5-ounce cup of coconut yogurt. Yeah, I think I'm gonna add the yogurt to this instead. That's how I'm gonna do it. It'll be better that way, just because with the souffle, like I said, the delicateness of the eggs, you really want to do the meringue last. So I'm gonna scoop, and then it says 5.3 ounces, but it's not even quite full. So I'm just gonna call it 5 ounces instead of putting it into the measuring cup. I'm just gonna scoop 2 of the coconut yogurts into the roux here. Recycle these guys. And then I'm gonna do half of the vanilla yogurt. So a nice coconut and vanilla flavor. Do a little both of them. Okay. And then again, this yogurt is serving as the cream that you would do in a souffle when making the roux. And we're just going to do half of the cup of this vanilla. Just a little bit vanilla yogurt. Nice vanilla flavor with the coconut. Again, I want to have an extra coconut flavor. Okay, so that should be 12 ounces there, about a cup. I wonder if I should just put all the vanilla in since it's less. Put this in the fridge. And so what I'm going to do now with this is, bring you guys over here. I'm actually going to blend this together since I still have the blender going, and I'm going to put the meringue aside and mix that in last. So peace everyone. So, oh, hey, everybody. So, hold on. You say, Dwayne says, which has more of an impact on why black men prefer lighter women, the media or spiritually traumatic experiences? I would say spirituality, because even whether the experience is traumatic or not, white women, white Satanists, white women who are Satanists, actively do witchcraft to keep black men from marrying and mating with black women. That's part of the eugenics movement, which is very satanic too. But you have to understand a lot of the root work that black women were doing, because root work it's an African form of witchcraft that only black women can do. So the root work that the African slaves were doing, some of that was passed down partly through the mulatto, through the mixing of the blood, and through being owned by white women who oftentimes would seek out power over men that the black women had, namely over the white men. And that as you got to more of that Creole and a lot of the mixing and stuff, these white women or the mulatto offspring would use the root work and corrupt it by honoring Satan or honoring ancestors who were not African, but using African root work and techniques. So the spiritual disenfranchising of root work from black women and using it against black women, that the fact that the average black American woman is not spiritually adept at witchcraft because she's succumbing to a spell of white supremacy by her hair, or the fact that here's the number one thing: there's no such thing as one drop of black blood makes you black. There's no such thing as that. Your mother determines your race. Whatever race your mother is what race you are. So black men marrying white women are making white babies. Black women marrying white men are making black babies, because we are matriarchal and your mother determines your race. Whatever race your mother is what race you are. So black men who are giving away the legacy to white women, those children, namely those daughters and those women, they are using satanic magic against the black woman and putting active spells over the black men. Now, in Israelite culture or in African culture, a black man who is under the spell of a white woman is cursed, and we would stay away from him. Similar to sisters too, but there is a spiritual sexual formula to interracial dating. So I would say more, because if you watch media in Hollywood, you will believe that all black men are like that. But when you know real brothers and you really come from the hood, where most brothers, their baby mamas are black and they're loyal to them and they raise their kids, even if they do illegal stuff to do it, or even if they struggle, or even if they kind of thugging or whatever, these are brothers who are loyal to black women. And if you come from that environment where you know real people and real niggas, you're not going to follow what Hollywood is about, because real niggas ain't about Hollywood. And real black revolutionaries damn sure ain't about Hollywood. So the media propaganda mostly affects people who are consuming that more than consuming African spiritual culture and energy. And it affects the people who are selling their soul to be a part of that or investing in becoming that. But the vast majority of black men are still married to black women. But when it comes to the wealth gap, black men with a certain amount of money, they are the ones who are causing the biggest problem. Not the brothers who are poor, taking care of their children, loving black women, doing what they got to do, and starting businesses and being revolutionary like their sisters and wives and baby mamas and single black mothers are. These black men with money are slaves to white women. And they promote that to black men who didn't have no father to teach him better, or a mother to show him better. You got a lot of black mothers don't like other black women. They covet their sons. They have a problem with other black women. So they will use white supremacy and light-skinned mulatto imperialism to compete with other black women over their son or over other men and things. So the media is not so the big problem. The spell over black men that a lot of sisters are also under because they're too busy trying to look white instead of be real and attract an energy where the people in your life are real. Even if they're not what you want, at least they're real people. Black women are not effectively breaking the spell over black men because black women are not adept at witchcraft or understanding it. Black women do not really truly understand white femininity. And this is not just getting on the sisters. Black people do not understand white people. White people have been studying the African genetic and the African race and our culture and customs so as to keep us oppressed and to understand us so they can use science to keep us controlled. Black people are a lot of times have this inferiority complex where they don't, anything that's white, they negate it and demonize it and everything instead of understanding it and analyzing it so as to defeat it. So a lot of black people, by not having the intellectual ability to comprehend white supremacy, by it being able to comprehend Eurocentric customs and culture, cannot defeat the white witchcraft, or really it's not white witchcraft because that's color, not race. It's satanic witchcraft that has a spell over black men, who in turn are cursed to the black woman. And black women, we bear the burden of not having eligible men because mass incarceration and white supremacy, meaning interracial dating, that takes away a lot of eligible brothers, making the ratio of men to women depressing at best. But here, let me but you know, so I think I you know, a lot of my brand as Black High Priestess is about teaching teaching some of the spiritual topics and mysteries that will give you the tools and the spiritual warfare capacity to defeat some of these spells. There's a lot of real brothers out here who they are nothing like these black men in Hollywood who will wear dresses and act gay and let white women enslave them sexually. Real black men are nothing like the men in Hollywood. And the men in Hollywood is few and far between, and they're all owned. And most of them have no intelligence outside of sports and that lame ass music that they make. That proves they're not intelligent enough. Because underground artists, that's where the real intelligent hip hop takes place. So it's the spell and it's the curse on black people that are own gods, that are own ancestors and the Most High placed on us to punish us and for forsaking our heritage. How can we reverse that? Do we just need to see celebrities with naturally beautiful black women? I mean, it worked with Obama. When Obama brought Michelle in the White House, black people was acting completely different. When Black Panther came out, black people was acting completely different. Niggas was ashamed of they white bitch with fleas. Sorry. But you know, what happened after Obama and Black Panther? They had to make sure they put out more white supremacist media with black men being enslaved sexually to white women. Or you guys call it interracial dating. I call it how I see it. You better watch Uncle Tom's Cabin. So, we do need to see more beautiful black women. But remember, you can't wait on it to be televised. There is there is a lot of media already. You shouldn't have had to wait till Ryan Coogler made Black Panther. You should have had to watch. You should have been watched the cartoon that came out already, which was excellent. Black faces, Black Panther beating up Captain America. Those are the things that if you are into anime and culture, and you, like I said, if you got some swag, like if you're really different, and you can make a difference. And you don't have to look, you can't look to it for Hollywood media, because anyone going in Hollywood media has already agreed that they're going to forsake Black femininity. The Hollywood media is a larger aspect of every fraternity that requires the forsaking of Black femininity, because they have studied the formula and they know that Black woman is stronger. You cannot get the Black woman to sell out the way you can get a light-skinned mulattoes and the Black man. And remember, in slavery, the Black man was publicly humiliated and castrated in creating DNA programs for the Black woman to become superior and to become the ultimate matriarch and protector of the Black man. And to this day, there's DNA programs with Black men. A lot of that having to do with the masculinity being targeted. Not that there's no Black men, but the masculine men are targeted and taken away. Same thing when you have a country that goes to war. It's not just about white supremacy. This nation has gone to war a lot in my generation. By the time I was out of high school, the nation was at war and in decline. So when you go to war, all the young, eligible men, a lot of them die. And the rest of them come back crazy. No longer eligible to be married per se, even though they have the money. So that affects a lot of Black men, because who mostly goes to war? Men who are too poor to make it otherwise and have to risk their life for money. So the war and mass incarceration took away a lot of Black men. So, my point is, Black men are targeted now to be taken away. It's not that, it's not that there's not so many available. They are doing population control on the Black man, which started the moment slavery was abolished. The moment slavery was abolished, the cops started. We did not have police in this nation. The whole police, which is the fraternity, in Chicago it's the Fraternal Order of CPD. So the police officers are a fraternity. Police being a Greek word, polis, meaning city. Police means city, you see. So the whole point in the police force is to catch the freed slaves. So all I'm saying is it's a sin for Black men who have any comprehension or understanding of the conditions that our race is in America to date interracially when you have wealth. It's one thing if you a slave and you sleeping with the slave master. That's that white trash, Black trash shit that you expect. But when you're a Black man that has wealth, you not only sold your soul, you become an active enemy to your race by marrying a white woman who cannot relate to you and who will take your children and sacrifice them to Satan one way or another and leave you in the dust when she marries the white man who she planned on marrying after using you all along. These people have these people, slave owning families that didn't stop. You got these other people, Kim Kardashian and these other Arab families coming over, enslaving niggas. A lot of these Arabs are passing as Latino, but they're not. They're Arabs who is still, so we got to wise up and know some history and stop just, you got to actually listen to people like Sarah Seti and stuff who will talk about how alone we are as Black people, and we can't accept anybody who ain't really fully African as one of us. Let me blend this up. in terms of seeing celebrities, like I said, the main solution is stop looking to Hollywood, because those people know that they have to forsake black femininity and any allegiance to it to be part of Hollywood. Fraternities and sororities, understand, you cannot have black women in there. The black woman is the black cat that's the glitch in the matrix. We are Bastet. You said you about to hit the weights. All right, Prince, I see you, and I will see you soon. And maybe have more natural black women in music videos. Here's the thing. Black men who was really about real hip hop, they don't have a problem having natural black women. But the black woman, the natural black woman is always going to get more in Hollywood. You're going to get further dealing with white people, because white people, you're exotic, you're interesting, you're beautiful, it's artsy, it's you know. But with black people, one, most sisters hate you because you're darker and you're beautiful. The Bible even talks about how the blackest women were considered the most beautiful. Miriam got struck with leprosy for making fun of Moses' wife, who was known to have very dark skin because of the tribe she came from. The women had dark skin. So dark-skinned women being the most beautiful and most desired, that dates back to the Bible. And that's how I know most of you niggers, I'm talking to some of you niggers who like to argue with me on Facebook, that's how I know you all have not read the Bible. Because of the rhetoric that you use. It shows you haven't read it. You've just listened to other black men who want to tell you it came from a white person. Yeah, Shakespeare translated it. That's why speaking like a white girl allows me to open the mysteries that they hide from you, because they know you niggas won't read. You'll read anything but the one book you need to read to get real Vodun mysteries. You see? Vodun is not a written tradition anyway. It's an oral tradition. But a lot of that stuff is not meant for the average human. So, you know, natural black women can make a difference, but again, if you're not sexy, it's going to be very hard. If you're not really sexy and bringing sex appeal to being natural and dark skin, if you're not bringing a real genuine sex appeal to it, it's going to be hard, because we are considered ugly by our own people far more than white people. White people consider, and again, don't let Hollywood fool you. I will let you know, I grew up around crackers. I get way more approval and acceptance for being natural by white people, and I get so much hatred from black people. But every now and then you get a black people who admire you and this and that and everything. And that's why it's my role to have my business cards, and I'm BlackHighPriestess, because I got people asking, can I do their hair? I can't do your hair. I won't, but I can give you a consultation. Instead of you going to Kevin Samuels for an image, you can pay $50 to BlackHighPriestess, and I can tell you some shit that some of these niggas in Africa who claim to do voodoo can't tell you, because they're not really ordained to. I can tell you things and help you with things. But I'm not just going to give, you got to ask the right questions, and you got to be willing to say, I like the way you look, but, instead of just wanting some average shit like, can you do my hair? No, I can help your spirit, though. And that's when black people get spooked on average. Whereas white people, they know about druidry. They know about witchcraft. They know about their Irish Celtic culture. They're not spooked by it. They're fascinated. Black niggas get spooked and envious and confused. And then, oh, you're from Chicago too. So then that's where the hatred comes in. And that's where the abusiveness of black men who feel inferior to you because you're beautiful and you're sexy, but you got an intelligence that they don't understand where it came from, so I got to deal with that shit, so it's like being natural can make a difference when you're really, really sexy behind it. Otherwise, black people I make dark skin look good. There are brothers who would never date a woman as skinny and bony as me. But because I'm sexy to them, they'll think they're like, man, you're skinny, but you're sexy as hell. Or you're intelligent, you're so intelligent. Or they would never date a woman with natural hair. They will only date a woman with straight hair. But they see I'm sexy and I'm intelligent and I'm carrying myself a certain way. So unfortunately, if you don't have some level of Eurocentric or exotic energy to you as a black woman, it's not going to make a difference. You know, being exotic to white people is easy, but being exotic to black people, you gotta really be different. And most sisters, their energy is not really activated with a bloodline trait of witchcraft to be able to defeat the spell of white femininity. They think straightening their hair and becoming a gold digger is defeating the spell, when all you're doing is becoming more possessed by Jezebel. You got to break the spell by understanding your self-worth. And a lot of that comes with having the right mama. You know, and that's on me to really pay homage to my mother. You know? And my father. It's taking me 2 hours to make this pound cake, y'all. It take 30 minutes at most to do all of this. But basically, I got the yogurt in here. See if I blend it a bit higher. I'm blending everything together as best I can. I might even need a little bit, that little other yogurt. So, but basically this is what the batter is like now. You can see the consistency of it. Okay. You see? So I blended everything together, and it's definitely more of a batter now. It even still could use a little bit more moisture before I put it in, but I'm thinking about putting the rest of that vanilla yogurt in. I think I'm gonna put the other cup of vanilla yogurt just to get more moisture, and then I still have the meringue here, the egg whites. So I'm gonna add those, and that will be the souffle style. So this will be basically the roux that I have here. Yeah, and so my point is about having natural black women in music videos. You know, most black male artists who are doing music or pursuing music, or even just are artists making cartoons, making different type of artwork, most black male artists in America will put white women in their artwork. That they're under a spell, and a lot of them do that because they think doing that will get attention of white people, and they will get more money and better opportunities if they cater to white people. You know, I think one of my favorite artists and musicians, I really fell in love with the nigga too. Like he was really phenomenal. His artwork was phenomenal, and I was anticipating like his next music video. And then he put a white girl in it. And even though I saw the artistic energy behind it, the context in which he did it, and it was very creative, but it was just disappointing that a lot of his energy was going toward white femininity when most of his fan base were black women. And I don't even want to promote the person now because they're still not doing anything for sisters. And a lot of these brothers do that. They'll start with get their fan base, and sisters too. They'll start with their fan base being black women, black revolutionaries, black people, African, revolutionaries, and they get a few white sponsors, or they get a little attention from white people, and or they want to start making more money, and so they think they got to cater to these white people to do it, and a lot of times it's like your goal is making money. You don't need to cater to white people. You just got to let go of the idea of becoming rich off of your shit and start seeking out black people who are doing it. The biggest problem is most black people who actually have the skills and talent and professional ability are booked. So you got to deal with some of these unprofessional niggas who is amateur at best at what the fuck they do. But it doesn't have to be that way. Take time out of your life to find how to be pro-black. Find black-owned businesses. Find sisters who make that product that you buy, and get from them on weekly or monthly or annually. Get your beauty products from them, or start making them your own on your own. You know what I'm saying? Find all these brothers out here who are graphic artists, producers, got beat like you just don't want to do it if you're not already doing it. You just don't want to be pro-black if you're not already being pro-black. But there's a lot of black people who, like me, you grew up and were groomed by upper middle class white society, even though your parents are black revolutionary. So you have white outlets. And you have white people who you can work with, and you don't want to lose those relationships. You know what I'm saying? So there's compromises that come with actually having real, genuine connections to real, genuine white people who are not racist. But if you're pro-black, putting out artwork that elevates black people and black relationships will come before a white friendship, because no white friendship will be offended by you being pro-black. Any white person that you're friends with should have some understanding of the oppression black people go through on a day-to-day basis. It's as simple as that. So you're not Dwayne. You're not going to have black men putting more dark-skinned, natural-haired black women in their music videos, because black men do not find us beautiful. Black men do not like dark-skinned, natural-haired women. Black men who make music do not like dark-skinned, natural-haired women, on average. And I'm not talking about Hollywood. I'm talking about black men in America. Black men who are artists in America, on average, do not love black, dark-skinned women. Their artwork is always about interracial. It's always about white women. You see, black men think white women are exotic, the way sisters, we're exotic to the white man. So I have a best friend. She was telling me one time, she's like, you got to go. She's been to Europe and everything, doing music and stuff. And she's like, Chess, you got to go where you not know a dime a dozen. And so as a sister who prefers black men, I've had to go into and venture into lower class demographics that I emerged from and was groomed out of, to find a mate. And those black men cannot relate to me on a deeper level, and they start to resent me and become abusive. So it's a reality about demographics. Segregation creates a disconnect between black people who are educated and black people who are not. There we go again. I'm going to have to go live again. I cannot believe I have been talking and I haven't even mixed up the stuff. So third time's the charm, right? All right, it's going to cut me off, but let me know if you all have any more questions. And I'm going to go live for the last few minutes of popping this in the oven. Just going to mix this, give it another mix.